Hi guys, Shouvik here. Welcome back to our YouTube channel. So today we will solve one another beautiful question. So that is of closest prime numbers in a range. So yeah, let's go through the questions once. So what we given? So we are given two positive integers, left and right, and we have to find two integers num1 and num2 such that left the both the numbers num1 and num2 that we have to identify is lying in the range of left to right, and the second condition is like left should be greater than like num2 should be greater than num1, and both the numbers num1 and num2 is bound to be prime numbers. Now, and the third constraint is num2 minus num1 is the minimum amongst all other pairs satisfying the above conditions. So on let's understand on this test case. So we have left boundary set as 10 and right boundary set as 19. Now we have to find uh, the prime pair numbers which satisfies these conditions. So that is these two numbers is lying in the boundary of left to right and both are prime on the same time. And third conditions is num2 minus num1. So the number that we choose as a num1 and num2, the gap between them as minimum as possible, so we have to find. So then one thing to is easily you guys are getting from here. So the main fact is we have to only consider the consecutive pairs of prime, because let's understand on these test cases. So what we have at, like, if I can quickly write it down for you. So what is the prime numbers lying in between in the range of 10 to 19? So that is 11, then 13, then what else, 17 mostly, then 19. So these are the prime numbers lying in the range of 10 to 19. Now 11 and 17, if I consider 11 and 17, then the gap what we are getting should always be higher if I consider 11 and 13, because we have to minimize the difference between the prime numbers that we are chosen in the range of left to right. So on that case we have to always consider for minimize the last conditions, the minimum gap between the two prime numbers should be by taking the consecutive prime. So 11 13 we can consider as a our possible answer. 13 and 17 can be our another possible answer. 17 and 19 can be another possible answer. But 11 and 17 or 11 and 19, like, we are considering one, and we are skipping one and taking another, or skipping two or taking another. So that is not going to be an answer at all, because then on that case we are for sure violating the minimum gap of between two numbers. So that is the for sure. So our answer should be the consecutive prime numbers between them. So that is one thing. So we have to now the second point is very simple. They are both are prime. And then the third point, return the positive integers num1 and num2 if there are multiple pairs satisfying these conditions. So which conditions? The above three conditions. Now let's suppose we have 11 13 17 19. So here the gap is 2, right? And 13 to 17 the gap is 4, and 17 to 19 the gap is again 2. Now one possible answer by considering the above 2, like above 3, these three conditions if I consider, then our possible answer can be 11 13, or this can be 17 and 19. So these two. Now out of them there is another tiebreaker logic. If you are hitting if you are landing on some this kind of scenarios, then if there are multiple pairs satisfies this minimization conditions, then return the smallest num1. So out of them, which has smallest num1, 17 or 11? So 11 is a smaller one, right? So on that case, we are going to return the smallest one. If the gap of multiple, if we got multiple identical minimize gap, then we have to consider the smallest among them. Yeah, and if altogether there are no gaps exist at all, then on that case we have to just return the -1. Yeah, I think you guys are completely digest the questions altogether. Now we have to think about the solution part. Yeah, on the solution part, if you guys take a focus on the time constant, so the right boundary time constant is 10 to the power 6. So the actually the boundary we have is 1 to 10 to the power 6. So that means if we have to think something in terms of n or n log n at worst case, not more than that, because if it is going to be more, uh, then it is going to be for sure TLE. And what is the time complexity of calculating? Now one brute force is on that. If you are practicing of such kind of question, so that is a very standard industry standard question that can be asked on many more top product based company. And if I think if you are following these videos, then you have at least basic level of understanding of how to check if a number is prime or not, if a number is even or not. This type of concept should be your like cakewalk. So you can't tell that I don't know of how to check if a number is prime or not. Then please go through of such basic topics, and then only you can only digest such questions. Otherwise it is not going to be help you out. So please like learn that concept, then only jump on these videos. Yeah, so on the, if you are on these videos, then I'm considering you know how to what is the time complexity of checking if a number is a prime number or not. So that is of time complexity of checking if a number is prime or not. What is it? Tell me. So that is of square root of n. Square root of n. So if n is my number, so the time it is going to be taking is square root of n. Now we have the boundary of 10 to the power 6. So there is no options of skipping the iterations from left to right boundary. We have to do. So there is a constant time we have to consider that we have to iterate from left to right, and left to right single iterations is going to be take you 10 to the power 6 time, right? You have to provide your 10 to the power 6 times of single iteration. That we have to do. And checking and within the iterations, so I am stating you the brute force. So the brute force should be you are iterating from left to right, and on the running go you are checking if that particular number is a prime number or not. If that particular number is a prime number or not. So I already told you. So checking a number is a prime number or not, that is the time complexity is going to be take of square root of n. Now if n is 10 to the power 6, what is the square root of 10 to the power 6? 10 to the power 6 raised to the power half. So 10 to the, then 2 3 is a 6, and that belongs to of 10 to the power cube. So checking a number is a prime number of not, that is going to be take you of time complexity of 10 cube. If my maximum boundary is 10 to the power 6, and we are iterating also in the range of what, 10 to the power 6. So now do you guys think this solution is work? So what is the time complexity then? 10 raised to the power 9, and computer can compute how many operations in 1 second, that is 10 to the power 8. So that is going to be a TLE for sure. Yeah, now we have to think something different. So something different is, if you guys know sieve of elastosis, like checking a number, checking a range of numbers. So sieve of elastosis basically working is something in the way of, if you have a range, if you have a upper limit only, not range, left boundary is always starting from like very beginning of our number list, that is from 0 1 2, that's only. And if you have a upper limit, you can generate all the prime numbers in the range of n in big O of n log of log n time complexity. So what I told, if we have an upper limit, then we can generate a list of size n holding the information if a number is prime or not in big O of n cross log of log n. So that is how there is a very standard algorithms is there on the market. It is known as sieve of erastosis. What is the name? Sieve of erastosis. Sieve of erastosis. You guys can just Google it out. Sieve of erastosis. You or maybe or or if you guys want, I would make a video separate on Sieve of erastosis. Then please make it comment out. Then I will definitely make a video on Sieve of erastosis. But yeah, on high level, Sieve of erastosis will do this job. I am not going to explain Sieve of erastosis on this video, so I am considering that you should be knowing that Sieve of erastosis if you are on the like in the phase of preparations of, or your interview is going to be set in like very next few days, then this concept should be your like cakewalk. This should be your like left hand only. Like you can just open your left hand like this way in some few milliseconds, and you can going to able to do the entire jobs. And this is the same thing, so you can solve it like sieve of erastosis, like very standard algorithms, sieve of erastosis, cadence algorithms. These names are should be your, you should have to practice as hard as these concepts are in your brain all the time. So that's the for sure. If you are considering for interviewing a product based company, then sieve of erastosis, cadence algorithms, Dijkstra algorithms, Bellman-Fortas algorithms, BFS, DFS, these concepts should be your like cakewalks, that is always be top of your brain. So just you are writing, you should be always just in the phase of writing on. You don't have to think about what I have to write off after that line, after this line, after this line. You should be prepared on that level only. Then only you can say that I am in a positions I can able to crack a top product based company. So sieve of industries is very basic things. You should be like top of that concept in very thorough. So yeah, but again, if I am not sure what is actual audience is following this video, so please do it comment out. Then only I can identify what is actual audience, and then only based on that I can, if I got a like major comments of making a separate video on sieve of industries, then I definitely will do that. That is not an issue. Yeah, so but again, like just Google it out, and if you are not able to understand, then please make a comments. I will definitely, I am happy to make a video on sieve of erastosis. Yeah, then this template is basically doing exactly of sieve of erastosis. How it is doing, I am not going to explain. That is a very standard template code, uh, which is basically, if so what I told, if we are giving an upper limit, if I am giving a upper limit, so what is our upper limit? Our upper limit is our right boundary. If I am giving you the right boundary, that is our upper limit, then sieve of erastosis is capable enough of generating all the prime numbers in the range of 0 to n, not left to n. It is of very start from 0 to n it is giving me. So initially I am like making prime 0, because 0 is not a prime number and 1 is also not a prime number, and after that it is doing the standard. So what is basically storing? It is storing like this list of primes, na? This primes basically giving you. So it is basically holding booleans, and how the booleans looks like. The booleans should be, if a particular number is prime, then 0 is not a prime, 1 is not a prime, 2 is prime, true is 2 is prime, 3 is prime, 4 is not a prime, like this way. Like this way it is going to hold. So if a number is prime, then it is holding the value true, else false. How it is doing, so you can Google it out or make a comment. I will happy to make a video, separate video on sieve of erastosis. And this algorithms is taking off time of big O of n cross log of log n. So this is of, now if you are going to some log based calculator, so what is our n? N is 10 to the power 6, and base is always 2 because we are operating on binary. So what is our max boundary here? 10 to the power 6. So if I write 10 to the log of 10 to the power 6 is what? 19.93. So if I consider 19.93 log of log n, so first log giving me 19.93, and if I am writing 19.93 into log into base 2, what it is giving me? It is giving me 4.31. So that is the time. So this multiply by n, this multiply by n, that is going to be, so 4.31 into 10 to the power 6. Right, gone. Yeah. So this block, this code is altogether working in time complexity of, we just proved it, self dot initialize Sieve. This things is going to be take off a time of how much? Big O of, sorry, big O of 4.31 into 10 raised to the power 6, right? And our maximum computation power is 10 to the power 8. So we are very good on that sense. It is taking very like not very less times, but yeah, like perfect times as per this question. That is the ideal time complexity you can achieve by this solution for this particular question. Yeah, so that is going to be taking off 4.31 into 10 to the power 6, and then I have written a very standard algorithm. So let me just explain you. So that is basically, so here too I have written just Sieve, so that you can Google it out and understood and then use it as per the question. But here you have to, now if you have Sieve, then what? Then how you guys are going to calculate? Now if I have Sieve with my hand, now what? Now I have to iterate from left to right, left to right. I am iterating. Now I am checking if, so this Sieve call giving me a prime list, and I have initialized my answer to -1 because initially let's suppose I didn't get any answer. Now if that particular number is a prime list, so prime list means, so that is a prime number, because prime list is we are getting from Sieve only. So we are getting prime list here, and so this particular number is a prime, and now we have to check if that particular number is one prime visit. Like one prime visit basically a boolean which is basically stating, considering that particular number, if we already visited some prime number before, if I consider that is a prime number, now we have to find out the gap, na? So how we can identify the gap? If there is some previous prime number in the range, then we can only identify the gap. Now if one prime visit, if that boolean is giving me true, right? Initially I have started it with false, correct? And now, and our last prime, last, I am coming on last prime, so one prime visit is clear to you, right? And if that is not, then we don't have to do anything. If the we are visiting the first prime number in the range of left to right, then we are not able to calculate the gap on that time, because we don't have any previous prime of current prime which is lying in the range of left to right. We don't have any prime on that range. So if that is not so, then we can consider this prime, this current prime, as our last prime. So last prime basically holding what is the last prime value till now I have considered. So this current is going to be considered as a last prime. So this is the going to be happen all the cases. If my particular number is a prime, then no matter last prime is visit, there is any last prime or not, my current, sorry, what happened? Yeah, so the current prime is going to be my last prime. That is to happen. I have written it outside of that my if block. So that is going to be the for sure. And I am marking my one prime visited as true. So one prime, so I have just visited a prime number, right? So I can make that boolean to be true, because I have just visited a prime number. So I can make one prime visit is true, because on the next go, when it is again hit a prime number, then on that case it is going to be true from this block, because we have visited one prime number, and what is the last prime number? It is going to be vended out from our last prime variables. Then we are able to calculate our gap. So on the next go, when we are getting our next prime number, it is going to be true. And what is the gap on that case? My current number minus what is the last prime I have visited, then that is our new gap. So that is the now gap. On that time, that is our the gap that we have considered, and what initialize, and I on the initial go I have initialized gap at a very high number, that is 10 raised to the power 9. And if my new gap is going to be smaller than my gap, then on that case only we are updating our gap to be new gap, and answer equals to, what is our answer then on that case? Last prime is going to be our first prime of that particular case, and my current prime for which we are got that answer, so that is going to be my second prime of basically num1 and num2. Yeah, and this way if we are iterating all the answers, then if there is no prime lied on this range, or there is a single prime lied on this range, then though it is never going to update the answer variable. Then by initialize of answer -1 it is able to return the answer as a -1. Yeah, that's all about on the explanation part of this question. I think that is a very good question on in terms of like checking your fundamentals of like a very good algorithms of Sieve of Erastosis, which is a must know question for interview. And then you are able, then basically interviewer is going to be check you if you are able to identify it is a question of Sieve of Erastosis, and you are also able to write it down Sieve of Erastosis along with extra things that is very specific, that I just explained you, that is very specific to this question only. So these things is very specific to this question only, so these things you are able to write it down. Yeah, and this block is the very sure it is going to be taking off time of left to right, that is of at max 10 to the power 6. Yeah, so our overall time complexity is going to be what? So overall TC is going to be big O of n, that is of single iteration, this plus, not into, plus big O of n log of n, that is our final time complexity of this question. Okay, that is the time complexity. So we have proved it that this is going to be taking off time of 4.31 into 10 to the power 6, and this n is going to be taking off 10 to the power 6. The summation is what? 2 into 10 to the power 6 plus 4 point, like, sorry, 4.31 into 10 to the power 6 plus 10 to the power 6, that is somewhere in the range of actual time complexity. With this is something like, at worst case it is of 5.31 into 10 to the power 6, that is our worst case time complexity. And space complexity is, again, space complexity we are in using Sieve, so Sieve itself is going to be taking off a size of n, that is our right boundary. So right boundary is going to be at max as 10 to the power 6, so we can say the Sieve is going to be taking a space of big O of n. Yeah, that's all about on the time and space complexity. And I am bid you, if you are able to explain that questions like every granular complexity, if you are vending to the interviewer, na, he or she is going to be super happy, and you are not able to reject, you are top of that interview for sure. If your time complexity and space complexity is that much, you have the clarity, or that much you have the grip on that TC and SC, so then there is, you are at the top, you are the king of that interview only. So yeah, you should explain like this way, that is of big of n plus n into log of log n, because the entire things of that particular question is how you can make the entire things within the time complexity range. That is the biggest challenge, and if you are able to write it down the exact worst case time complexity, na, like exact on the terms of mathematical numbers only, then to you are the top of that interview. So please try to make that in that only, like if that is a BFS DFS, then interviewer happy with, you are telling that big O of v plus e, big O of n, big O of n log n, something like this. But for that particular question, please try to write it down as granular as mathematical level, then it is going, you are on the king of that particular interview. That's the part sure I have to say. Yeah, that's all about of the today's question. I think you guys are able to understand, and if you if so, then please do like, and if you want that, if you need a video, separate video on Sieve of Edastosis, then please make a comments on that. I will be more than happy to make a separate video on Sieve of Edastosis. I didn't cover the Sieve of Edastosis on this video because Sieve of Edastosis explanations, why it is I cross I, why it is J starts from I cross I. There are lots of things on the Sieves, and if you know only, then only you are going to get it, and if it is not, then you have to read it some articles, or if you want, then I will make a separate video on that. Yeah, that's all about today, guys, and weekends is almost arise, and you guys are already aware of that there are two biggest announcement. One is my Cars 24 LP, Cars 24 SD2 interview experience, which is they can offer at a 40 LPA if you are able to the top of that interview. And yeah, and another thing is like I will do a resume roasting of my resume, which is going to be selected on multiple product based companies, and that is definitely going to be help you guys a lot. I am getting a lots of DM, what the template I am following, what we have to write and what we have to skip. So these things I will in depth, I am going to be covered on that topic. Yeah, that's all about today's, guys. Okay, then happy weekend. Bye bye. See you soon. Bye.